B. Gonzalez was born in South Chicago in the shadow of U.S. Steel Southworks in 1951.
I was born in the car on the way to the hospital. My parents always said I was in a hurry to start my life.
Rey was born to Francis and Ernesto Gonzalez. He was one of 5 children.
My mom was born and raised in Chicago. She was this incredible person. In the 1940s, she became a clothing model for women's clothing in downtown Chicago. In the 1950s, she became a police patrol person. She joined the Chicago Police Department. Later on, after we were born, she went back to school. She became a real estate salesperson. She became a real estate broker. She did things that were unheard of for Mexicanas in the 1940s and 50s and 60s. My father was born in Louisiana to migrant farm workers. When he was a child, his parents died, and he was raised by his grandparents in San Antonio, Texas. When he was 17 years old, he came to Chicago and met my mom, and after dating for a couple years, they married.
Rey's first encounter with prejudice came in his all-white grammar school.
I went to an all-white Catholic grammar school. My first day at school, I had an older brother, and my older brother Ernie, and he was in a fight in the schoolyard. And I went running over to see what was going on. It was my brother, and there was a lot of older kids, and they were pushing and shoving and using racial taunts on him. And before I knew it, kids started hitting him, and one kid in particular, and they just started hitting him. And I remember the rage that I was filled with and the anger. And I jumped in, and I literally beat the hell out of the kid that was hitting my brother. And from that moment on, from that day on, I literally fought almost every day in grammar school from first grade all the way through 8th grade. It was kind of a defining moment in my life. It led to the person that I am today, because I always have that burning desire to fight for those who can't fight for themselves.
In addition to prejudice in the schoolyards, there was also prejudice in the classroom.
One of the things is they would tell us stories and give us examples of the lack of contributions by Latinos in this country. It was through my parents and my grandparents that they righted those wrongs. They taught us what the true history of our community was. They're the ones that instilled a pride and a respect for our culture and who we were. They're the ones that planted those initial seeds of me fighting back for our community.
Rey excelled in high school and went to his counselor to see how he could pursue his dream of attending Notre Dame University.
In high school, I had a 3.8 GPA. I went to see my high school counselor as a senior and told him that I wanted to go to Notre Dame College. He looked at me and he said, "You people don't go to college. When you graduate from high school, I'll find you a good job in the steel mills. I'll make sure you get a good job in the steel mills." Well, I was so mad that I showed him I went to work in a meatpacking house, and it was brutal.
But Rey eventually, like so many other Latinos from South Chicago, went to work in the steel mills.
By the time I was 19, I was married. By 20, I had a son. I was working full-time and attended college. My parents always had regrets about not going to college. I didn't want to live with those same regrets.
Rey graduated college in 1976 with a degree in business administration and went to work for the Chicago Urban League, helping women and minorities acquire work in the building and construction trades.
Well, here's the problem. It would take sometimes 2, 3, 4 years before they were called. Our people needed jobs now. So what I did was I created this program. It was called an industrial apprenticeship program, and I began working with corporations like General Motors and U.S. Steel and Republic Steel to create this new program and new opportunities for minorities.
But there was a problem. The people that Rey was sending for jobs were being rejected.
What we quickly learned in working with the corporations is that our people were failing the test, in particular the math portion of the test. So I created a tutoring program, and I volunteered to teach that program, and it worked. The results were phenomenal.
Within 3 years, Rey had put more than 4,000 women and minorities to work in skilled, high-paying jobs, a record which still stands.
As a result of this experience with the Urban League, I realized that I could be instrumental in the success of our community.
In 1979, Rey's success lands him a job as Regional Midwest Director of the National Council of La Raza.
My job at NCLR was to provide advocacy and technical assistance to Latino community-based organizations throughout the country. And that's how I first became involved with El Valor.
When Rey first came to El Valor, I had been there several months. The windows were broken out. They were the old glass block. The basement was flooded with electric wires on the floor. And here comes Rey Gonzalez in the door. And he says, "Wow, this place is beautiful."
But when I walked through the doors, I knew I belonged. It was a place that I knew I had to be involved with. For me, it was a beautiful place that kept families together.
He's a good person, deep down inside goodness. And I see him still growing, still dreaming, and I think that El Valor has been blessed by his presence.
My grandmother, Petra Castañeda, had 13 children. Her 13th son was born with Down syndrome. And when I was a child, she spent a lot of time with me. She'd sleep by my bedside. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I'd see her praying. And she was asking God for forgiveness, not for the fact that her son had Down syndrome, but that he was no longer with her, that he was taken away from her. I always knew that I would do something for my grandmother and parents like her.
Rey has been board president of El Valor for 31 years. He has given El Valor the extraordinary leadership needed to accomplish extraordinary goals. Today, El Valor is an organization that works with over 4,000 families throughout the Chicagoland area. What began over 35 years ago in the basement of a church has now grown into 3 children and family centers, a work center, and 5 community residences. One of the children and family centers carries his name. In 1981, Rey meets an individual that changes his life.
The first time I met Juan Andrade was in a meeting in Detroit, Michigan. I was sitting in the room waiting for Juan to get there. In walks this gentleman with a cowboy hat. And he walks in, he says, "Hi, how y'all doing? My name's Juan Andrade, and I'm gonna work with you in Chicago." And I'm like thinking, holy Christ, who is this guy? And the great thing about Juan is that he taught me an important lesson. He taught me the power of your vote. He taught me a different way to fight.
The administration was cutting funding to community organizations, and it was a difficult time to start new organizations.
We had very limited funds. However, Juan had this dream. And he said, Rey, he comes to me one day and he says, "Rey, we're going to incorporate." He said, "The good news is I'm going to make you vice chair of this new organization called Midwest Voter." He said, "The not so good news is we're going to need your house and your car so that we can start this organization."
With Rey's leadership, the USHLI National Conference has grown beyond expectations, attracting over 6,000 present and future leaders to its yearly conference. Additionally, the USHLI has registered over 2.2 million new voters, awarded $1.2 million in scholarships and internships to Latino students, provided leadership development programs to over 300,000 present and future leaders, trained over 45,000 community leaders and organizers. Thousands more have participated in candidate training and campaign management schools and in training programs for grassroots and collegiate leadership development. And USHLI has just launched Project SED, Students for an Educated Democracy, a civic education virtual classroom online with the ability to potentially educate and register millions of Latino youth in this decade, which could transform Latino empowerment for generations to come.
Rey has been a cornerstone for the Institute. He's always been there from the day it was conceived to the day it was conceptualized. He shared that vision, and he brought to it, that very important element, that piece of anything that is going to last forever, and that is to be a cornerstone. And that's what Rey represents to USHLI. And that's why after 30 years, when he has helped create this to help us recognize other heroes and to bring presidents to our conference and national leaders from around the country, all of this is because we had that cornerstone, and that is Rey Gonzalez. That is why he's a hero that we honor today.
Rey is a true fighter for equality and justice for our community. His steadfast passion for the educational, economic, and political empowerment for our people identifies who he is. In addition to his job, somehow he finds the time to serve and support organizations whose mission it is to improve the quality of life for Latinos. As a member of ALCOM's board, the Latino Council on the Media, Rey helped change the media landscape by advocating for jobs both on air and behind the scenes at television stations in Chicago. Rey, together we fought many battles. You have been a blessing to me and to so many others.
In his 36 years of community involvement, Rey has helped launch new community organizations, has helped raise tens of millions of dollars for nonprofit organizations, and given unselfishly of his time to improve social and economic conditions for all Latinos. Rey has been awarded the Jefferson Award for Volunteerism, the Cesar Chavez Community Service and Leadership Award, and named in the top 100 most influential Latinos in America. In recognition of the impact he has had on young people as a role model and motivator, Governors State University established the Rey B. Gonzalez Scholarship Fund in 1997.
My message to our young leaders is always believe in yourself. Take control of your life. Don't let others define the person you'll be. By volunteering, I learned that I could be a leader. Your unlimited growth potential can be enhanced by volunteerism. It's a win-win for you and our community.
Rey works at ComEd, where he is Vice President of Legislative and Community Affairs. Rey is also involved with ComEd's diversity initiatives, including efforts to assist in building and strengthening relationships with diversity suppliers and community organizations.
Rey, on behalf of the ComEd family, we congratulate you. We thank you. We are so grateful for all you do for us and really for all you do for the community in the Chicago area. No one deserves this award more. We're really, really proud of you. We're so glad to have you as part of the family.
Because of your service, I chose to serve too. Maybe not as prominently as you, but in my own way. I love you, and I'm very proud of you.
When I think about my brother Rey, I'm gonna cry. But I mean, I just think of how much I love him, and you know how what a tremendous person he is, and how my life is richer and better for him being in it.
In my life has always been about two things, my family and the community. And if it wasn't for Hilda and her support and the kids and their love, I wouldn't have been able to do all the things that I do. Hilda's the one that sacrificed and gave of her time and took care of the kids while I was off, as Vince would say, you know, or Juan would say, pursuing God's work. It was really Hilda and the kids that are really the foundation. They're the bedrock of who I am as a person, but they're also the motivation for the things that I do.
There were a lot of weekends I didn't get to see him, but he always did make time for me, and I also want him to know that I'm very proud of him, and I'm grateful for every moment I've had with him.
Dad, I'd like to know that thank you for teaching me to always stand up for myself and stand up for what's right, no matter what other pressures or other people may say, and not letting other things or other people put limitations on myself or what I want or can and can't be.
Dad, I just want you to know that you're the best dad that anyone could ever ask for, and I'm so proud of everything that you've done with your life and all that you've given of yourself to other people, and I appreciate everything you've ever done for me, and I love you with all my heart.
He is a mentor and has been a mentor to our children, to those in the community, to our many nephews and nieces. So that has never bothered me, the fact that I had to share him with the community. And I still continue to do so, and it doesn't bother me at all, because I know that is his passion. I know that is his heart. And I encourage him to continue to do that, because that's his way of giving back. And I want to thank him for being the wonderful spirit and the wonderful heart and just the human person and genuine person that he is. Thank you, Rey. I love you.
My community involvement has been a match made in heaven. It's never been about me. It's about giving back to the community. The journey has been just wonderful, and I know my grandmother and mother are looking down, and hopefully they're proud of me.
On behalf of the Board of Directors and the staff of the United States Leadership Institute and the 30th Annual United States Hispanic Leadership Conference, we salute you.